rushing me? I have what does
Call
this
an
do?
order to rear guard? That's crazy. Oh man, turned into Welster real quick.
Hey everyone, this is Curb and I bring you another standard match. Today on the left we are going to be seeing Ava once again, the deck that just refuses to die for some reason. And on the right we do actually have a new deck for the channel, which I kind of find a little bit surprising. That's going to be Charmont. I've actually faced this deck like just so many times that I'm kind of surprised that I haven't actually gotten a video of it yet on the channel. Anyways, let's go ahead and see how this matchup does. Basically the old guard against the new guard. So we do have Charmont going second, which is definitely a little bit of a favorable place for Charmont to be because they do have a grade 3 opponent restriction. As we do see a grade 1 called there. Going to be swinging at the Vanguard, hitting into a defensive. So we're going to swing for a 1 to pass. Unfortunately, we are not going to be seeing it. So Ava is going to be getting away with just 1 damage here going into that grade 2. Of course, running into the grade 2 Ava means we're going to be searching out the second order. Just going to be playing it, you know, as Ava does. I feel like I've posted so many Ava videos on this channel, but clearly they just refuse to die. Anyways, we are going to be seeing an order called out there, but in actuality what it's supposed to be is 2 copies of this grade 1. A little bit of a lesser seen card, but definitely not a bad one. It is a 13k attacker if you have 2 or more orders in the order zone, which obviously Ava's almost always going to have on their turn 2. So going to be swinging it into a defensive. Charmont getting her own defensive there. Just going to be swinging into that rear guard, which is a little unfortunate because, you know, Charmont does actually need to have the archetypal rears as rear guards in order to kind of use Charmont to its fullest effect. So using the skill, the grade 1 there in the ride line, calling it behind the Vanguard, going to be activating a copy of the Sweet X Suite. So at this point in time, Charmont is going to be playing that order package, but it looks like if you can take a look at that top 5 there, I think I see 2 critical triggers, a draw trigger. I think that might be a PG, and I can't tell what the last card is, but looks like it was a terrible card because we are considering calling nothing from that top 5, and it looks like we are just going to actually opt to, you know, straight -1 for CB, which is definitely great. I can't really say for certain whether, you know, you just call a trigger there, just get a little bit of aggression. I guess it kind of depends on what you have in your hand. If we had called the grade 1 as a rear guard, we definitely could have called a trigger there in order to kind of, you know, just like push damage a little bit more. But we are going to be flipping over a red OT there. Unfortunately, probably the worst possible time, as we are going to be calling a card and then giving it 100 million. I'm not entirely sure if you can do that. I believe you can because I read the over trigger and it just simply states that if it's activated as a drive trigger, activate its additional effect. It doesn't necessarily state an order. Definitely if you're a little bit more familiar with the rulings, whether you have to assign power or you use the additional effect first, I don't really think there is a set order for that. So I believe that this is a legal play. I'm gonna also assume that because I did cut out like a solid 5 minutes of the Charmont player trying to ask the judge basically what the ruling was on that. So hopefully we got that sorted out. Anyways, we do see an Obscadade being called out here off of the Blue Research Lab, so it is going to be a 2 crit Obscadade, as well as calling down a grade 2 Obscadade from the hand using the Blue Research Lab, Soul Blasting the 1 and giving 1 unit 5k. We could definitely give it to, honestly, probably the Vanguard because it's the weakest column at this moment. But looks like we're just going to be opting to... Oh, no, that's just a crit. Yeah, just going to be giving it to the Vanguard there. We do have the 3 CBs, so we're definitely in a really good position. But looks like we are actually just going to start with the swings. Totally forgetting to use Ava's skill there. And it looks like the Obfuscate is going to be swinging once again at that grade 1. Now, the other grade 1 behind the Vanguard is supposed to be in the Soul because it does pop itself back in after it calls itself out. But, you know, we're definitely probably going to correct that in just a little bit. But swing the Ava, going to be calling the Obscadade here. So it looks like we do have two damage attacks on either side. Depending on the hand, it might be a little bit tricky to actually guard this. Now, Ava is 18. This is probably a pretty safe attack to take because, you know, there is like all you have to worry about is a potential crit. But instead we see a heal, which is definitely not what you want to be seeing. Not only is it pushing their damage down, which is terrible against a huge numbers attack like Charmont, but it does also add a bunch of extra pressure onto these Obscadates, which are they were swinging for the same number, but now they are swinging for a little bit. One of them is a little bit higher. So this is a 36 and the other one's going to be a 46. Definitely difficult numbers to guard at this stage in the game. So thankfully we didn't see a crit off the Ava swing there, but we also unfortunately did not see a defensive there. So I think kind of what you do here is it's a little bit tricky. You can bank on a defensive if you have enough, but to guard the other swing. But looks like we are going to be taking that. Going to be getting 2 blanks there, and now we do actually have to guard this because it is a lethal swing, so going to just be PGing that. So we are at 4, so Charmont definitely doesn't have to worry about being damage denied at all, as we are just going to be riding for free because we do have the 2. I'm not even going to bother pronouncing the name. I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong. It's like Levier something. Levier Sommelier. I guess I can just call it that. I'll probably forget that in a minute. Anyways, riding into the Charmont for free because we do have the cards in the soul. Kind of just having to decide what we are going to be doing here. It looks like we're going to be starting off with a Resius, giving an extra 10k to the Vanguard. So we are trying to hit that 33k threshold so that we can get an additional drive check on that back row grade 2 unit. So actually playing the Forbidden, which is definitely something that we see mostly in the what am I trying to say, in the order package based units based decks for Charmont, calling back a copy of the Ghost Scroll, which is going to allow us to countercharge because she was not placed from hand, meaning that we do get that counter charge there. Not really necessary right now. I mean, you got like 4 open damage now. Like, yeah, you definitely needed that counter charge. But you know, it's better to have it than not. You know, you mainly are doing it for this Ramona here, to put it and the Resius into the soul in order to give another 5k to the Vanguard, calling out this Colby to counterblast 1, and then just draw the card, give 5k to the Vanguard. And am I mistaken? Doesn't it search out a Lavora or whatever? We might have actually run out of it deck because we did see 2 grade 1s come out in the drive checks and called down. So maybe we didn't have anything to search. Maybe I'm mistaking it for another card. I'm probably doing that. I don't pay attention to this deck, even though I fought it like 100 times at this point. We calling out another Resius, giving another 10k to the Vanguard. Maybe a little unnecessary there. But I guess we're trying to push here. I mean, it is totally feasible to 2 to 6 with Charmont, but you do kind of have to get lucky on the drive check. So it looks like we did get a critical trigger here, giving the power to that grade 2 there. So we are already at 4. So potentially we do have the ability to close things out here with just the massive amounts of power. But at the same time, we know Ava has at least 1 PG. So realistically, they have to, they can take 1 more attack. If they can PG this, maybe this swing here. Honestly, usually I end up taking like the grade 2 swing, which is not a bad play because it's only 1 drive check. So they would have to get a critical trigger here in this instance in order to actually break through and kill you. But it looks like we're going to be throwing down that OT, which is actually not going to be enough. That's just a 1 to pass, but intercepting the Obscadate is going to make it a 2 to pass, or effectively an OT to pass, which is not going to happen because obviously OT was checked last turn. Looks like we were just calculating those numbers because that's a 58. We guard for 63. Guarding for 73 is a 2 to pass. So not getting anything off that drive check. If we got a critical trigger there was the feasible possibility that we'd win, but at the same time, you know, we know they have a PG, so those attack, one of those, the 2 crit attack is definitely not going through in this instance, as we do just easily guard that other attack. Probably not overly necessary, and then PGing this last attack, once again, not overly necessary, because, you know, Charmont is at 4 here, and if you have a Pip Ava in hand, the chances that you're able to close things out in this next turn are fairly easy. And you know, that doesn't really make, I was gonna say like healing range, but Actually, it does matter a little bit. If we'd have taken that last 5th damage, we'd have been at 5 and we deny the 5th damage heal. So that kind of makes things a lot easier to, you know, kill them. Like, a 5th damage heal would be, like, disastrous here. Because assuming Charmont is able to actually do its whole play all over again next turn, you probably don't have the defensive resources unless you spend this entire turn just bulking up your hand and your 2 Obscadades to realistically guard both of those attacks. I think you'd have to, like, maybe take the Vanguard swing or, like, PG the Vanguard and then, you know, guard the grade, or take the grade 2, and then hopefully you have enough to guard the other 2 massive columns. But looks like we're playing another Blue Research Lab here, calling out a Combine Rusher, which is definitely a very excellent card to have in this situation. It's just a free 20k attacker. Now, we did miss out on that Persona Ride, so maybe our ability to actually, you know, I guess, what am I trying to say? Kill, close out the game is a little bit reduced here. We're going to be using one of the grade 1's skill in order to add the Obfuscate back to hand. So I guess we're going for a little bit of a bulk up because I believe we still have plenty of Obfuscates in the deck. So we don't really need to call one from hand, which is sometimes what Ava will do during the late game, just to, like, ensure that they have an Obfuscate to call if they don't have the Pip Ava. But, you know, I guess we're just doing it for the extra 10k shield, because we obviously did not need the counter charge there. Yeah, we're going to be swinging with the Combine Rusher here for a nice 20k. That's a little bit of an awkward number, because that's a draw trigger to 1 card guard it, or we can 5k guard and another 5k guard here. But looks like we're going to be hitting that draw trigger here. Swinging the Ava for a nice 18. Once again, using its skill to do the Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, in order to call out a second Obfuscate. So for the Charmont, things are a little bit risky here. I think your best bet might be to just try to hard guard this Ava. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but I think if you throw down like a 15k shield and then just intercept, that should kind of equalize things to make it a 2 to pass. Realistically, maybe you want to take this other Obfuscate because it is only 1 damage, and then if you have a PG, just like throw it to the Obfuscate there in order to, you know, give yourself that 1 damage. Basically, give yourself another PG, being able to take a really big swing there. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be doing. Okay, so it looks like we are actually taking the Ava swing here. I'm guessing we probably didn't have a PG. Unfortunately, we didn't see a defensive there either. So we are going to have to hard guard these. Definitely, if you don't have a good way to kind of block that last attack, that was the correct play, I suppose. But let's see, what's that other Obfuscate at? 36? Maybe it would have been better to just guard the Ava there for a 2 to pass, because now you're committing an extra card from hand. If we had 2 to pass the Ava and then, you know, like just taking this Obfuscate, yeah, it was a little bit risky, because if you flip over a crit there and you do that, you probably don't have enough shield to guard both of these attacks. So, you know, you would have just died. But we didn't see a crit there. If we had risked it there, we would have had the extra card, which is probably the Resius there. Maybe would have been able to get our Vanguard up to that extra threshold. Yeah, if we had just gone trigger and 5k to guard the Ava, I think it was at 18, unless I totally missed something, which, mind you, I totally might have. But we could have probably kept an extra 5k and then just taken the other Obfuscate, guarded this other Obfuscate like we just did. But, you know, looks like we're going to have to hit with as much as we can. Unfortunately, Charmont only at 28, so we can't really go for the drive checks, so we're just going to go for as much power as we can, making 2 pretty powerful columns. This first one going to be blocked with, I think that was like a 2 to pass. Going to be swinging this other column for a 31, which is not a great number. Going to be taking it, hitting into a defensive trigger there. So this 41k column is going to be pretty easy. I think that's just a 20k guard. But looks like we're just going to be committing the PG there in order to block the attack. And using the skill of, what was that, the grade 1 to put 2 things into school and draw a card. So now, once again, Charmont is in a pretty sticky situation, and even worse than before, because, you know, we do actually we don't have a single damage to take. We don't have any more leeway. As we use Ava's skill here, checking the top 3, going to be adding 1 card from among them to the hand. And then, of course, Ava is going to be getting another 5k there. Going to be, of course, not using Wavy Losses skill because we don't have enough soul. And also not using the Blue Research Labs skill because, you know, you kind of need that soul. Although, in all honesty, what you could have done here is you could have used Blue Research Lab, give 5k, and then just slide the grade 1 into the soul so that you have the soul for the Ava in order to kind of, you know, still do all your plays. Because... you know, like I'm not even an Ava player and I saw that. That's interesting. Anyways, you know, people make misplays, whatever. This is kind of very doomed for Charmont as we swing 15 here. This is a pretty easy 5k guard, but at the same time, you've got 3 more attacks that are still pretty threatening. Almost all of them are calling for at least a 2-card guard. So I don't know if we have enough cards here. So maybe we just take this first swing, and if we get a 6 damage heal trigger, things become much more guardable. That 36k Obscade becomes a 1-card guard with a 15k trigger. So, on honesty, like, how many cards does Charmont have? Is that 5 or something? I can see 2 there, and I think there's like 3 in hand. But nope, looks like we're going to be taking it. No 6 damage heal coming out, so that is going to be the end of the match. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do those things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.